Hello and welcome. For this video, we asked our admins about top 10 bad practices they wish designers don't do. Therefore, watch this video closely and improve your rating by avoiding these mistakes. Bad practice number 1. Not following and implementing admin's feedback. Deleting admin's feedback comment boxes but not implementing the edits is a big mistake. If you do not understand admin's comment, please clarify it, don't just ignore it. Next point is not implementing feedback globally. Only fixing the exact element that is pointed out is not enough. Admin will not point out every single content mistake, misalignment, and so on. They might say recheck alignments or fix bullet points. Such a comment needs to be applied globally in all slides, not only where the comment box is placed. And lastly, covering mistake instead of correcting it is as well very bad habit. For example, getting feedback to insert text directly to field shape instead of the top of it. And designer would do just kind of cover up with extending the unfilled text box to fit the size of the fill box. Or getting feedback to find icons with the same line thickness, but instead of that, designer would just add an outline on top of current icon. So these are not great shortcuts, and in the end, admin will definitely notice it and it will end up in worse rating, so try to avoid these. Let's go to point number 2, bad practices in asking questions and messaging to admins. First bad practice is asking questions that are clearly answered in description or guidelines. Next one is not studying the task properly before asking questions. Then asking questions very frequently in multiple messages instead of writing all questions at once at the start of the project. Keep in mind that admins are on multiple projects and help multiple designers. Therefore, it might be really frustrating to be getting so many notifications when all the questions could be asked at once. And the same thing goes for sending too many separate messages at once instead of just one single message with all the needed information. So really don't send just these one-word messages. Just put everything nicely to one whole message. Point number 3, too high demand on VIP reviews versus not providing any VIP. So VIP files have high importance and they should be delivered according to instructions of admin and whenever designer needs to confirm if the work is going in correct direction. But VIPs should not be overly misused and at the same time also not be ignored or forgotten. Therefore, avoid these common mistakes. So on spectrum of too many VIPs, we have first bad practice, which is sending too many VIPs. It is not possible for admin to give a review slide by slide. Designers should be able to take the first review feedback and apply it to most of the slides. Then asking to confirm every single aspect of a slide. For example, sending a print screen every time designer makes a change to confirm if it's correct. Also, it is not great to hope that admin will point out everything so designer can save some time on going properly through guidelines and other materials. It is designer's responsibility to make sure everything is followed correctly and admin is just this guiding safety net in case it's needed, but it's not admin's job to point out everything to designer so the presentation is done according to guidelines. Now we are getting to the other side of the spectrum, which is no VIPs or too few of them. So you should definitely not be ignoring or forgetting about the VIP deadline. Don't forget that some tasks have not set only the final deadline, but as well the VIP deadline that has to be followed. And the last point is not submitting VIPs, especially when working on a big file, or forgetting to submit VIP in general. You definitely want to know that you are working in correct direction, so it is important for you to confirm this with your admin. Bad practice number 4, wrong icon usage. Correcting and replacing icons is a very time-consuming process for admin when finalizing the task. Therefore, it is important you get your icons correct. Avoid following icon usage mistakes like these. Not aligning icon perfectly inside of the shape. For proportional icons, such as this one you can see in this example, this is solved by aligning icon to the middle and center of the shape. So in the red circle, you can see icon is misaligned. It's not perfectly in the center and middle. But just by clicking on alignment buttons to the center and middle, we solve this and in here icon is perfectly aligned. For non-proportional icons, such as this one, because you can see that this star offsets this icon a bit, you need to do some more adjustments than just centering and middling the icon. You need to adjust it manually a bit so the main object of the icon is centered and it looks a bit more balanced, just like in this green circle. Make sure your icon style is consistent and also that they have consistent line thickness. As you can see in this example, these icons are not consistent in the line thickness because this one of the camera is too thin and this one is much thicker. Therefore, you need to go and search for icons with the same line thickness. It is also not correct to use random icons for words that are hard to understand. Instead of that, you should try really to understand what the word or some phrase means. So maybe try to Google it, or in the worst case, ask your admin to help you out and figure out what icon would be suitable. Also, not matching icons to meaning of the content is general bad practice, and selecting icon based on one keyword, for example just heading, instead of understanding meaning of whole bullet, sentence or paragraph. Sometimes this one keyword is not enough for us to just understand what the whole text is about. Therefore, try to study text a bit more deeply so you really can catch the perfect icon. To learn more about icons, you can go to watch our icon usage video that you can find by visiting our help center at our KnowMorePlatform.com webpage, or you can see description under this video for video links. You can easily find our help center by going to our KnowMorePlatform.com webpage and then click on our help button, which takes you to the help center. And in here, you can just write whatever keyword you are searching for. So in this case, it would be icons. And you can find the article related to icons. So as you can see in here, you can find our video about good icon usage. And this way you can search for whatever topic you will hear about in this video or whatever interests you. Now let's continue our video with bad practice number 5. Underestimating importance of content checker and content checking. Checking content well is one of the designer's responsibilities, and admin is only rechecking if this was done well. Remember that even the most beautiful slide does not bring value to client if the content is wrong. Despite that, content check is sometimes underestimated by our designers. Avoid following mistakes in content checking. So first one is just not using the content checker tool at all. Then running the content checker but not actually going through report boxes and trying to understand the content mistakes that are reported by the content checker and then fixing them. Make sure that you use Ctrl+F function in input slides to easier identify reported missing content. Then it is not being aware of what needs to be checked manually. For example, correct order of boxes, links, italics, bolding, and highlights, or even more. There are certain limitations to content checker tool, therefore these things need to be checked manually. In case of recreation, you have to double check the text you have recreated. It is not enough to only rewrite the text, because there might be many mistakes left from typing quickly or misreading some text. Also, it is not great to do just lazy recreation of notes and inserting only placeholder instead of really trying to figure out the letters and typing them and marking red. We mark words red if we are not sure of them, but we should still try to identify them as much as possible. And lastly, not marking placeholders correctly. Placeholder has to be in red color, so it is easy for us to spot this placeholder as well. It is easy for client, and also any word that you are not sure of should be marked by red. You can as well learn more by searching for our content checker video either in Help Center or go to the description under this video. Point number 6, not following the most basic rules of design and client's guidelines. In here, our admins mentioned some of the basic rules that are sometimes not being followed, such as slide frame, alignment, no jumping throughout the slides, correct text box formatting, such as correct text box margins and setting boxes to do not autofit. Then rule about one slide should have only one font size in the content area unless guidelines say some other rule. Then it is correct bullet point settings, consistency in titles, subtitles, footers, and slide numbers, or correct colors that is taken directly from client's template color scheme instead of just using eyedropper or some incorrect colors. Next basic rules that are being broken are, for example, not giving enough effort to visual enhancement slides and assuming it should be just brush up with icons. Then not understanding the slide structure. Sometimes designers just change the design without thinking about it a bit more deeply and not considering the consequences it will have on the slide's readability and general meaning of the slide. Then not setting the correct language in the deck. Using too small font size when the text can be bigger because actually there is enough space in the slide. And adjusting or changing client's master template if that is not part of the instruction. That is not allowed. We are not allowed to change client's master. Point number 7, poor communication and ghosting out. Communication is really important factor in successful project, therefore try to avoid these communication mistakes. Poor communication regarding questions, update about progress on the task, information about availability or breaks. Admin really needs to know where you are in the project and if you are there for us or you are taking break. Some designers just don't communicate at all, and of course that is reason for taking designer out of the project, as we are not sure at all where we stand. Assuming things instead of asking admin. Always confirm if your assumption is correct, especially when you are hesitant in important things, such as which template to use or client's instructions and so on. If you are taking longer breaks or you go to sleep, let admin know the time when you will be returning. And a big no-go is ghosting out. Disappearing from the chat and only coming back before the deadline or not at all is of course something that our admins definitely wish designers don't do. We have as well video about the communication with admins, therefore feel free to learn more about this topic as well. Bad habit number 8, skipping last quality check. When we are working on slides ourselves, it might be difficult to spot even some obvious mistakes because we usually focus on certain aspects of the slide or just admin's feedback. Therefore, before delivering final file, it is important to take a step back and do one final deep check of the slides. These are things you should not miss in your final review. Alignments and consistency in the slides and across the whole file. There should be no jumpings for titles, subtitles, footers, slide numbers, slide frame, and make sure that you do the final check in presentation mode. This really allows you to see the jumpings and misalignments better, therefore do not skip that step. Then you should check all content as well by usage of our content checker tool. And you should check if you kept all the animations and speaker's notes. Point number 9, not studying the task description, client's instructions, and client's files. Without understanding the task description and all the instructions, it is impossible to proceed with the task correctly. As well, careful reviewing of guidelines you need to apply is crucial for completing the task successfully. Therefore, deeply study task description and client's instructions first, and then ask questions if needed. You can't ask questions to admin if you don't know the project. Review all clients' files and get familiar with them. If there is any file or rule that does not make sense to you, address this to your admin and ask for clarification. And lastly, pay attention to clients' guidelines. Figuring out the style is not so difficult if you have gone through the guideline and inspiration files. If you go through the files carefully, you will be definitely able to find suitable icon style, colors, font, slide frame, even if you are a brand new designer at our platform. And now we reached our last bad practice admins wish designers would not do, which is applying for the task if you are not sure you will be able to or you want to work on it. When applying for a project, you have to consider if you will be able to do the project without any compromises. Therefore, carefully consider the deadline, project estimated hours of work, task description, your availability and schedule, and other tasks you have already taken on. Only this way you will be able to assess if you have required skills and enough time to dedicate to this project to successfully complete it. Only after apply. It is highly unprofessional to apply for the project and after being allocated, asking to be removed just because it is not maybe the easy type of slides you hoped for or similar reasons. And if you apply for a project and you find out it might be harder for you to work on it, you should let admin know about this, but we still expect that you will try your best. Clarify the task with admin as much as possible. If you need some example, ask admin if they can provide it, and then send an early on VIP so admin can decide if they need to split the work or find another designer. Do this as soon as possible so the deadline is not in danger. I am sure that if you will apply knowledge from this video, you will have happy admins and great ratings on your projects. Therefore, thank you for watching and I hope this is highly helpful. See you on the platform.